Okay, this is the review for the final exam. I ran our default script that created all the virtual machines. I ran this script to set up all the IP addresses, and I'm ready to start doing the lab. So I'm going to start with DC1. Guys, when we did the first DC, I think the reason why some of your labs didn't work for the direct access was the first DC, who do I point for DNS servers? Upstreams. After I'm done promoting, that's going to be taken out, converted to forwarders, and at that point, it'll have the loop back in here. I think that was a problem for some of your machines. So after I left class, I was thinking about it. You know, I think this was the reason why you couldn't connect to the internet for the client when it got on the when it got moved to the outside. So make sure in your first DC, it points to the upstreams. I'm going to install Active Directory on DC1. And while it's installing, do it the same thing for DC2.
DC3 I thought.
No.
Okay, yeah, so 2, 3, 3. Right?
NAT is going to be 1 and a public IP. DC1 will be 2, DC2 will be 3, DHCP 1 will be 4, DHCP 2 will be 5, IPM will be 6, R1 will be 7, R2 will be 8, S1 will be 9, S2 will be 10, and the DA will be 11. I don't care what IP scheme you use, honestly. So now I'm going to promote the first DC to a domain controller. All I did was set up my virtual machines, configured the IP addresses, and renamed them. Everything is going to be installed in the video. At the end of the class, we're going to decide if you want notes or for me to upload the video. You'll see the recording first, so you'll know what's part of it. Then you can make your decision.
I think so. 2019 or 2020? I got it this year. Last year. Yeah, I have XFIX 15 that works. With the thicker, I don't know what the graphics card.
Right. Yep.
Going to click install, and then I'm going to, while that's doing its thing, I'm going to go to the DHCP machines and install the DHCP software. Now I'm just waiting for DC1 to be promoted. There's nothing I can do until that's done.
This is really complicated, but imagine if NAT didn't exist.
I'm sorry?
This is really complicated, but it's really important because without NAT, like, we would be still spending money on every single phone that we connect to our network. Because there would be no private IPs.
Yeah, or delayed us implementing IPv6.
But yeah, IPv6 is helping with how many IPs there are, but
But a lot of companies are converting because of that.
yeah.
I'm going to try to set up the servers like we did the labs in class, that order. DHCP, IPM, DFS, VPNs, and DA. Okay, I'm gonna pause the video, because you know as soon as I pause it, it's gonna go free now.
We use the notes to, are we still getting the scripts, right? The PowerShell scripts?
You're getting the script that I gave, you have all the scripts you're going to get.
Okay.
So if you want to add to those scripts, that's fine. So my first DC is promoted. The next thing I'm going to do is fix DNS. The reason why I can't connect to the internet is because I haven't configured my NAT router. I'm not going to do that until I do the VPN. So I'm not really concerned that I'm not connected to the internet. I'm going to go to Tools, DNS. I'm going to go and check out my forwarders, verify that I have my 2 upstreams as forwarders, and I do. Don't worry that they can't connect because my NAT router is not configured yet. Now I'm going to go to my reverse, create a new zone for the 172 network. When I reboot this machine, it'll automatically create a pointer record for itself. It already created an A record for itself. So for right now, I'm done with this machine. I'm going to promote DC2. DC2 should be pointed to DC1 for DNS. So I'll look at my IP settings. .3 is my IP. My gateway is .1. My DNS servers are 0, 2, and 0, 3. The first DC and the second DC, even though this isn't up yet. Now, while that's promoting, I'm going to join DHCP 1 and 2 to the domain. Again, if you're not pointing to DC 1 or 2, you're not going to be able to join it to the domain. I'm going to do the same for DC2. I'm at DHCP2. While DHCP2 is rebooting, I'm going to go to DHCP1 and sign in as a domain admin and complete the DHCP configuration. I've already installed this DHCP software. I just have to do that last step.
So that was called promoting it?
No,
Or is it called this?
installing DHCP software. While that's signing in, I'm going to sign into DHCP2. Other user, sign in as a domain admin. The only machine you shouldn't be a domain admin on is NAT. So back to DHCP1, complete the DHCP configuration. If you aren't signed in as a domain admin, this is going to fail. Should be the domain admin here.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the same to DHCP2.
You ready to join the domain?
Yes. So both servers are authorized, the security groups are created. Now I'm going to configure a scope for DHCP. New scope. I'm going to call it private. That's the subnet it's for. The first in the range and the last in the range. Full class, full address. I'm going to exclude the first 100 IP addresses to use for servers. Give it 8 days. My router will be my NAT router. My DNS is just pulled from the IP settings. We don't have a Win server. I'm going to turn this scope on now. Again, highlight it, refresh to get rid of the blue. Now once I'm done, I'm going to send that data over to DHCP2. Configure failover cs01-dhcp2.contoso.com. Click next. I'm not going to do a shared secret, but in real life I would. Next. Finish. And now DHCP2 is configured. So if I go to Tools, DHCP,
automatically merge.
There's my scope. There's my pool of addresses. There's my scope options. So now I'm going to go over to,
Pretty sure you just said relationship.
so we've done this, 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 and this. Now I'm going to go over to IPAM.
This is where they pay you the big bucks.
First thing, join it to the domain. I'm just going to check on DC2. It's fully promoted. Sorry, DC2, I'm just checking to make sure everything works right. What I'll generally like to do is check the DNS. Make sure I have a forward, a reverse, and my forwarders are there. So guys, I created a folder on the E drive called CTS2391. I'm going to open up the PowerShell on my real machine, move VM storage, name is DC1. Destination storage path will be the E drive. That folder. If you don't start moving disk as you complete a machine,
Was it always submitted?
you're going to run out of disk space. Right now, I'm fine, but when I get toward the end of the setting up the network, I'll run out of disk space. So I don't want to wait till then before things start crashing. If you need help with this command on the day of the test, I'll give it to you.
Okay.
Guys, again, I need to make sure that that folder is empty when I start. I need to make sure it's there. Just hit enter, it'll move it. It'll come back to the command in 1 second. I'm just taking a machine that's already been set up for the most part,
You just submitted.
moving it over to the mechanical disk off the SSD. It's going to slow it down, but I've already have a lot of the stuff already configured on it. So there's the command.
Destination storage. We'll submit it to CTS2391C.
So I'm going to go to the IPM server now. Again, sign in as a domain admin. While that's still loading up, I'm going to go to DC2 to check it out. If I go to Active Directory users and computers, I can see everything is there. If I go to DNS, I can see I have a forward lookup zone for Contoso. I also have a reverse zone. If I look at my forwarders, it'll point to the two upstreams. So DC2 is good. Now I'm going to install the Ipm software. Up until this point, everything we've installed has been a service or a role. But Ipm is a feature. So I'm going to go add, remove features, add roles and features. Keep going down until I get to the feature menu. Scroll down until you find IP Address Management Server. Restart if needed. While I'm waiting for this, I'm going to join all my DFSs to the domain. So I've just signed into all my DFSs. Now I'm going to join it to the domain. Guys, be consistent with your naming. It makes life easy if you know all the names of everything. Maybe not. So now I'm going to join R2 to the domain. Now I'm going to do S1. Then I'm going to do S2. Again, you might be able to promote your DCs and run another script that just joins all the machines to the domain at one time. So I'm going to go back to my IPAM now. It's configured. Now, unlike all the other services where we go here, IPM, you go on the left. When I connect to my IPM server, it's already done. I'm going to provision my IPM server in an internal database. My GPOs are going to start with IPM. Then apply. I'm going to open up PowerShell. Now let me do the graphic one so I can zoom in. Now I'm going to create, now I'm going to run the invoke command for IPM provisioning. Domain is Contoso. GPO prefix is IPM. Guys, as I do the dash, you know it kind of brings me to the next thing in line that I need. IPM fully qualified server name will be cs01 ipm.contoso.com. I'm not going to do either of these in real life. Probably you should. When you do the certification exam, you will have to know at least the one for the group. I'm also going to choose force. It doesn't really help because there's that glitch that you keep having to click yes for. Hit enter. Listen, if you get the error with the invalid data, what's the solution? Reboot the DCs, reboot the IPM. So what am I going to do? I'm not going to even bother wasting time trying to diagnose it. Maybe not.
Reboot DC and then IPM.
Yep. Did I do shutdown or restart? I'll know in a minute. I'll restart. So I'm going to restart DC2. I'm going to go back to Hyper-V to see when I have the desert scene, so I know if they're rebooted. I'm going to wait till those are fully rebooted before I boot up the IPM, reboot the IPM. Actually, I can shut down the IPM now while I'm waiting. DC1 is up. Still waiting for DC2. While I'm waiting, I'm going to sign into all my DFS servers as a domain admin. Actually, I'm only going to do it to one because I really don't need to sign into the others. Actually, I am going to because I'll be able to install stuff quicker. I'm going to check DC2. It's up. Now I'm going to reboot my IPM. Okay, my IPM is there. So now I'm going to go into PowerShell, redo the command.
So that's what we were doing, seeing if the IPAN was in the service, the bottom left?
No, I rebooted because I was getting that error,
Okay.
that invalid data error. So invoke IPAM
Field provisioning.
dash
Domain.
domain. Guys, I'm watching that red dot right here. You can't type R, it goes red. So contoso.com, IPAM, CS01, IPAM.contoso.com, force. I'll show you the command in a minute again. Yes, yes, yes. Don't worry about amber, only worry about red. So here's my command. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my IPAM. My provisioning is done. I'm going to select a domain. If nothing is here, say Git Forest, click OK, then come back. It'll be there. Then click Add. So every glitch, I got every glitch so far.
That's good.
Then I'm going to start server discovery. In this scenario, it is good to get every glitch, so then you'll see it.
So you just double checked if it was there after you got the forest, get forest, and then you reopened it?
No, you have to click Add when you reopen it.
Okay.
Because what you need is to make sure that it's here on the bottom.
Okay.
Without clicking Add, it won't be here. Do you want me to keep this very linear, or do you want me to move on while this is doing its thing?
You can multitask.
I'll go over here.
Okay.
Because I'm actually writing down the steps.
So while this is going on, I'm going to pause it. This will be a good time for the first break. Go back to my IPM server. And
Discovery.
I did the discovery, so now I'm going to add servers.
You record it?
I'm recording. Guys, for some reason, with 2019, it's not discovering the DHCP servers. So I'm going to manually add those. CS01 dhcp1.contoso.com. Click verify. Choose DHCP managed. I'm going to do the same thing for DHCP2. CS01 dhcp2.contoso.com. Verify. DHCP managed. For DC1, I'm going to edit, change it to managed. For DC2, I'm going to go and edit and change it to manage. What I was really doing there is setting the permissions on the GPOs. So DC, NPS, those two servers should apply that GPO. DHCP, the two DHCP servers should apply that GPO. DNS, DC1 and 2, those are my DNS servers. Now guys, you can do GP update. I'm not messing with it. I'm just rebooting.
What are you doing?
DC1, 2, DHCP 1, 2. This is one of those things that I don't rush.
Why are we restarting?
So I can reread the GPOs.
Okay.
Because now there's new GPOs, I want those GPOs to apply to the machines. Those GPOs are going to open up my firewall on these 4 machines. Without that firewall being open, it's not going to be able to query these machines to get the necessary data. That is the only reason the IPAM, these will remain blocked if you're not getting the right GPOs. I'm going to wait till those machines reboot. Take your time. Don't rush this part. DC1 is up. DC2 is up. DHCP1 is up. DHCP2 is up. Guys, I'm going to run a command on DHCP1 to give you an example how to test the machines. I'm going to sign into the machines. You can do this to all 4 machines. I'm just going to do it to 1. Plus, I'm buying myself a little time for things to get settled. What does PWD mean in Linux?
Print working directory.
I gotta wait till this stops. So PWD, what directory am I in? My home folder. If I do a dir or a list, same thing. I can see that I have a folder called desktop. So I'm going to do gp result verbose, and I only want to look at computer policies. I'm going to redirect that to my desktop folder and a file called my GPOs.txt.
Verbose /z.
So on my desktop, I now have a file. Am I getting the IPAM policy? Yes. So that's good. So you can do that on all 4 and make sure each machine is getting the appropriate IPAM policy. So now I'm going to refresh server access status. It's going to see if the IPAM server now has access to those servers. Again, I'm waiting for the blue bar to go across.
Can you show us the command again? The PowerShell?
It's not a PowerShell command, incidentally. It's just a regular
Or the command?
DOS command.
Well, that's just any name.
I'm going to minimize this. Go back to my IPAM. I'm hitting refresh.
Check the object, right? So
I just hit refresh up here in the corner. Everything's unblocked. Guys, I'm not going to check this, but if you want to retrieve all the data, that's going to take a while.
well, then why would we do it?
OCD, I don't know. Okay.
You ran the GP result on which device? You can do it on any of the 4, right?
Or all 4.
You should do it on all 4?
If you're getting blocked, make sure you're getting the policy.
Okay.
If you're blocked, it's not getting the policy. That's it. So now, guys, you can actually configure DNS and DHCP through this utility. I'm not going to do that now. I'm moving on to DFS R1.
Alright.
On R1 and R2, I'm going to install DFS namespace and replication.
Yep. Both of those are in the roles.
When I install these two, it automatically chooses file server for me as well.
Yeah.
Restart if necessary. I'm going to do that same thing for R2.
It's namespace, right?
Namespace and replication. And again, I'm signing in as a domain admin. On S1 and S2, I'm just going to install replication. For the midterm review, I actually gave you PowerShell commands to install this.
So go back and watch.
Yeah, if you could spend some time doing some PowerShell, it will save you a lot of time. Just DFS replication. I'm going to do the same thing for S2. Just going to go through all 4 machines to see when it's installed. R1 is done. R2 is done. S1 is still going. The other thing that helps with the test is being organized. You know, don't go start doing IPM before your DHCPs are done. You really have to do things in a very organized manner. S1 is done. S2 is still going. S2 is done. I won't move on until all 4 of those installations are done. Now that they're done, I'm going to go into Dfs Management on R1. No, I'm not. I'm going to go to Manage, Add Servers. I'm going to add all 4 DFS servers to this server manager. And just so I can see all the events for those 4 machines, I'm going to create a server group called DFS servers. And add all 4 of those machines to that server group. So when I look here, if there's any events for those machines, I'll see them here. Also, guys, if you get a Kerberos here, what's wrong? A Kerberos error here. You're signed in as the local admin, not the domain admin. Because you try to connect to another machine and it's giving you an access denied error. So again, if you get a Kerberos error, you're signed in as the wrong admin. A local admin as opposed to a domain admin. So now that's done. Now I can go into Dfs Management. I'm going to create a new namespace on Dfs R1 first. I'm just going to check layer 2 addressing. By putting the short name, I'm going to use the MAC address to connect to that server. If I put the long name, I'm using DNS. If I put the short name, it's going to test that I actually have connectivity to it. If you put the long name, it's going to use DNS to resolve to an IP, but you might not connect to that machine. So by putting the short name, we're using NetBIOS to resolve that name to a MAC address. If I use DNS, I'm going to resolve it. If I use the long name, I'll use DNS to resolve it to an IP address and then attempt to resolve it to a MAC address. So I'm just going to try the short name first. If I can't, then I have a layer 2 problem. So I'm going to call the namespace public, like the example. It's going to be part of a domain, so I have replication. Create. Then I'm going to add a namespace server. CS01 DFS R2. Again, I'm using layer 2 to communicate. MAC addresses. If you don't know what I'm talking about, take Net Plus. If you get an error here, that means you did not install the software.
Which software?
DFS namespace in particular, because I'm adding a namespace at this point. So if I go to namespace servers, I can see that I have 2 servers hosting that name. Look guys, it put in the long name for me.
So I was able to retrieve it.
Right. So now I'm going to add a new folder. Profiles. And when you click on profiles, it's going to take you to one of 2 servers. The first server will be Dfs S1 The example is wrong. The example is wrong. It doesn't exist. I'm going to create it. That was the network path. This is the local path on that machine. I'm going to customize the permissions. Full control to everyone. These are shared permissions, not NTFS. This wizard does not permit you to change NTFS permissions. You have to do it after the fact. That local folder doesn't exist. I'm going to create it now. So I'm going to do it again. This time I'm pointing to CS01 DFS S2 profiles. Guys, for my SMB path, I always use lowercase. For my local path, I use uppercase for the first character. OCD. It will work with uppercase, no problem. Your shares, profiles. Everyone full control, create the folder. So now I'm going to click OK, and it's going to launch the replication wizard. Click yes. The only thing you have to choose here is who's your primary. It doesn't matter who, because they're both blank. So that's one share. I'm going to do another folder. I'm going to call it redirect. Again, 2 targets, one on S1 and one on S2. Try not to have typos because it's a pain to back them out. And to the other server. Network path, local path. Click OK. Configure the replication.
What did you choose at the beginning of that wizard?
A primary. Doesn't matter which. They're both blank.
Okay.
You should choose the one that has data. It opens automatically. Okay, so DFS is configured. I'm just going to give you 2 examples of using our DFS infrastructure. So I'm going to go to DC1. I got the glitch. I'm going to close it out. I'm going to create 2 user accounts and turn on roaming profile. What utility do I use to create user accounts?
Active Directory domains, users and
DNS manager?
That one.
No, Active Directory.
Users and computers.
I'm going to drill down to the user container, create a new user, user 1, U1. I'm going to uncheck this. For those people that work in industry, guys, that's the utility you want to use to create user accounts now. I'll do that in the next class.
I don't know if I've ever used that.
It's cool. User 2, U2. Guys, without touching my mouse, how can I uncheck that?
Space.
Tab will give me to the next line, space will uncheck. Okay, so I have 2 user accounts. I'm going to highlight them both. Go to property. I'm demonstrating multiple select right now. You can select 2 user accounts at the same time. Go to properties. Go to properties, go to the profile tab. Contoso.com, public, redirect, nope, profiles, %, username, %. That's my DFS. That's the folder in DFS. And in that folder, I'm going to create a folder for each user account. When I click OK, it's going to replace this % username with the actual username.
Click and apply.
This is where a camera would come in good. So I'm going to click OK. I want to go back to each one individually. And it's right. And it's right. So another way is to do the folder redirect. Guys, the roaming profile and the folder redirect is from the next class. But since I had DFS up and running, I might as well do that lab now. So I'm going to go into GPO. I'm going to create a new GPO called folder redirect. Click OK. Modify that folder. Modify that policy. And for user accounts, Windows settings, folder redirect. I'm just going to redirect a couple of folders. Documents and app data. I'm going to go to properties, say basic configuration, contoso.com, my DFS, public, redirect, and copy that. Click OK. Give you a warning about old XP machines. Then go to each other one that you want and paste it in. You can do as many as you want.
How many do you prefer?
I'm sorry?
How many do you
Just do a couple. I'm going to close this out. The policy is configured. I don't want everyone to get this. Well, actually, I'm going to leave authenticated users here, but I don't want my domain admins to get it. I don't want this policy to apply to domain admins. So I'm going to go to delegation, advanced. I'm going to, for domain admins, under apply group policy settings, I'm going to deny. Because they're part of authenticated users. And they're also part of this. So for this one, I'm going to deny them access, or deny them that attribute so they won't apply the policy, regardless of what group they're in. Guys, I'm just trying to avoid problems with other parts of the test. I don't want your domain admin to have folder redirect or roaming profiles. In case it doesn't work, I don't want it to confuse you later. Okay. Last thing I'm going to do for DFS is fix the permissions on the shares. So I'm back on my DFS server. Under shares, on S1 only, I'm going to go to properties. Under permissions, I'm going to customize them. I'm going to remove the 2 users and add domain users. Give them modify rights. Again, I'm going to go to redirect, go to properties, permissions, customize the permissions. I'm going to remove the 2 users and give domain users modify rights. Guys, if you come back 15 minutes, it will get replicated to the other server automatically. You do it on one, it'll replicate it to the others. That wasn't always the case. Back in 2008 days, it didn't do that. Okay. So guys, here's where we're at. DC1, DC2, pretty much configured. I still have to do some NPS stuff. DHCP 1 and 2 are done. IPM are done. The 4 DFS servers are done. I still have to do the VPN, the Radius server, the NPS server, and the DA. So I'm going to do the VPN server first. I'm going to close all these out. I'm going to go to NAT. Try to avoid installing routing remote access through PowerShell. It's glitchy. It becomes more glitchy. I don't know why. So I'm just going to do it graphically. Okay, my blue line stops. I'm going to add roles and features. I don't need to join this to the domain. I'm going to install remote access. Then routing. Then restart. Guys, while I'm waiting, my original script, guys, that I gave you at the beginning of the class, relabels the network interfaces. So the script I use now to configure the IP I assigned them both an IP address. If you need help with this public IP on the data test, I'll help you. But it's just going to be 13. Your station number. So if you look at the IP config on your real machine, we're in the 12 subnet. So basically, if I bump this up the third octet to one number, you'll make sure you don't have an IP conflict with anyone else in the class. So I'm in the 12 subnet, so I did 10.3.13.1. You're going to do 10.3.13 your station number. Your gateway is only going to be on that interface, the same as the real machine. And on the private side, it'll be .1. I'm going to apply these settings to private, these settings to public. Guys, my subnet mask, 255.255.252, is really /22. For both interfaces, I'm going to point them to DC1 and DC2 for name resolution. Then I set the computer name. Oh no, oh yeah, I did. Okay. So that's how I did the IPs to both the interfaces at the same time. Want to go back to my NAT? You want to go back to that? Okay. Okay, it's done installing. I'm going to go to Tools, Routing Remote Access. Configure Routing Remote Access. Click Next. I'm going to choose VPN and NAT. Got the glitch. Press cancel, do it again. VPN and NAT. Guys, it's important. The first question it asks you, make sure you choose your public interface. I'm going to do automatic. My DHCP server will give me IP addresses for my VPN clients. I'm going to use a radius server, which I'll install in the DC next. The IP of the radius server will be 172.16.0.2, and our standard password will be the shared secret.
What was the credentials?
Password.
Capital PA11WORD. I'm going to give it a minute to settle in. You need to make sure the NAT is there. If NAT isn't there, uninstall Routing Remote Access, reinstall it, do it again. The only port I need for this lab is PPTP. So for the other ones, just to speed things up, I'm just going to knock all those other ports down. Guys, you can't get rid of this. Don't get rid of that. Don't bother with that. Just make sure you have at least 2 PPTP. I'm going to do 10. I don't know why it's prompting me to reboot. I'm just going to reboot. Was that my real machine or my virtual machine?
Real? Okay.
Okay. Guys, if it reboots on me, I'll lose the video.
I think we're good.
I'm going to do a search. NPS server 2019 bug port numbers. Right there's the port numbers. I'm just going to put them in another document just so I have them. So I don't have to keep looking this up every time. Okay. I missed one. Okay, so 1812, 1813, 1645, and 46.
What's that for again?
Because the radius server, when we install it, it doesn't open up those ports automatically like it should.
Okay.
So I'm going to install the radius server on my DC1. Manage add roles and features. I'm going to do network policy and access services. It'll tell you later on that it's a radius server. Right here. Restart if necessary. We're about 10 minutes from being done.
I'm on my limit right here.
This is every lab we've done so far in this class.
Yeah.
All at once,
I feel a little unclear about
in an hour and a half.
probably when.
About what?
When
Where do we begin?
Why, you're unclear as to why you came to class? Why you enrolled in the class?
I was told it was necessary for my degree.
yeah.
I even had to call a prepaid and tell them that it was to get the permission to take it. Because they were like, you sure you need that? I was like, yeah. That's what I'm being told. It's not too bad. I thought the Linux class, I thought that test was going to be brutal, but it wasn't that bad after I watched the video like 3,000 times. and memorized it.
So I'm going to go to network policy server. First thing I need to do is tell my radius server who my radius client is, which is my VPN server. So under radius clients and servers, I'm going to say new, my VPN server. And the near site address is .1. I'm going to use capital PA11 WRD as a pre-shared key.
Is it the first, the IP1 because it's in the network? Or
Because it's closest IP to this machine.
to the net, right?
Right. Well, no, I'm on the DC1. The closest IP that the net has, I have two IPs, one public, one private. This one is the closest to the DC on the net. So if I look at my router, here's DC1. This has an IP of 172.16.0.1. This is 172.16.0.2, and this one is 10.3.13.1. This interface is the closest to that. I'm going to click OK. Now I'm going to create a new policy under Network Policies. But first, I'm going to go to Tools, Active Directory Users, and Computers.
So don't do that last thing.
Not yet. We're going to create a new group. Called VPN Users. I'm going to add a couple of users to that group. You can do the administrator, I don't care what. I just created a group and I have two users, user 1 and user 2. Now I can go back to my MPS. So I'm going to create a new policy called VPN Connections, whatever name you want. This is going to be for VPN servers. To connect, they're going to have to do meet two conditions: be a part of that group and be connecting with a tunneling protocol. So I'm going to click Add User Group called, guys, it's the only group that starts with VPN, so I'm just typing VPN. That's the first condition. The second condition is all the way at the bottom. Now it's port type. I'm going to choose a VPN port type. So if you're connecting through a VPN and you're part of that group, I'm going to allow you to connect. Click Next. I'm going to grant access. I'm going to add EAP CHAP MS version 2. And I'm not changing anything else. Lastly, I need to fix the firewall. Windows Defender Firewall with Advanced Security. Normally we didn't have to do this. So I'm going to create a new rule to open up certain ports. I'm highlighting inbound rule, new rule, it's a port rule for UDP 1812-1813, comma 1645 through 1646. I know I could put commas and all, but I'm just trying to show a range. Again, UDP. Allow a connection for all my profiles. I'm going to call this radius ports. VPN server, NPS server, done. The last thing I'm going to do is the DA. So I'm going to DA, I'm going to join it to the domain.
Going to create client server in order to test the DA?
No.
No, I'm just going to look at the settings. If they're good, that's fine. Because remember, we spent more time setting up that client than we have setting up the server itself. Because I'm not going to have time to go around and grade all your machines, very granular, looking at the clients, and I just won't have time. Guys, I have that glitch. I'm going to close this out, reopen it. I'm going to sign in as domain user. Again, I'm going to install routing remote access via the graphic interface as opposed to the command line in PowerShell because it glitches out. We have this one guy who works actually in Building 13 with us. When he went through the program, his name was Richard, and every glitch you could possibly get, he got. So the name stuck. He's now called Glitchard. So everyone still called him Glitchard. So I'm going to install remote access. Direct access. And restart if needed. While that's installing, I'm going to go over to my DC and create a group. By default, it's going to do a SQL query on your network to figure out which machines are laptops. We don't have any laptops. So I'm going to go to Active Directory users and computers, create a new group called Direct Access Clients. And just for giggles, I'm going to create a fake computer account. New computer, CS01, fake.
You call it direct access account?
Direct access clients.
Clients.
So I created this fake computer account. I'm going to right click, add that to a group. Direct access clients. So now that fake computer account is a member of that group.
Can we create all the groups at once, or do we have to do it in sequence? Okay.
I'm only doing it to be linear. In real life, if I knew I was doing both of these items at the same time, I'd do both of them if I knew I was going to set up a VPN and a direct access server, I would do both groups at the same time. In fact, I probably would have done them when I set up the DC first. Okay, so especially this stuff with the NAT. Again, when I was setting up my VPN server, I would open up the ports for my direct access. So I'm going to connect to my NAT server. I'm going to go into routing remote access. That's not it.
That was remote access viewer.
I'm going to go into routing remote access. I'm going to drill down until I can get to IPv4 NAT. On my public interface, I'm going to open up secure web server to my DA. 172.16.0.11. I'm going to open up the web server to my DA. So secure web server and web server, that's the IP address for my DA.
For both of them.
For both of them. And then I'm going to add a new one. Direct access ports. Direct access port. 62,000. I know I'm going fast. This is the only way I can convince you to practice in the lab. If I go really slow, you get overconfident, thinking everything is going to be hunky-dory. I've been doing this for a long time. You'll run into all kinds of mistakes. The worst thing for this test is the thing between the keyboard and the back of the chair. You will make it 10 times more complicated than it needs to be over little typo issues. So 62,000, I'm going to open up to my DA. So 3 things to the DA. HTTPS, direct access port, HTTP. When I go to edit, it's going to be .11 for all 3. Then I need to open up one to my DNS server. So I'm going to add a new one called DNS UDP. It's UDP. That's my IP of my DNS server. Don't forget UDP. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, guys, look at this. Incidentally, look how it automatically configured this for us. This is automatically configured for my VPN. Okay, I'm going to go to my DC again. I need to resolve my public IP to a name public.contoso.com. I'm going to go to DNS. I'm going to create a reverse zone for my public namespace, which is 10.3. Allow dynamic updates. And then I'm going to create a host record for my public interface. Public will be 10.3.13.1. You're going to put in your public IP.
You put pub line.
Thank you. It's better than one video where I had pubic and didn't catch it until students watched it the day after. So I'm going to click Add Host. So I'm going to be able to resolve public.contoso.com to my public IP. That also created a pointer record. So my public IP will resolve to public.contoso.com. So now I'm ready to configure my DA. I can click on this wizard to launch the wizard. Several of us had that problem. I don't know why it wouldn't open. Oh, there it is. So I'm just going to do the DA. It determined it was behind the NAT router, contoso.com. I'm going to click Edit. I don't need to make any changes here. It's going to create some GPOs. But in the lab, I actually went through all of these. But the only one I really need to fix is this one. Remote access clients, I don't have physical laptops. So I'm going to uncheck that, remove domain computers, and just put in the group we created. Direct access clients. Next, finish. I don't need to change anything else on any of these others. Click OK, then finish. So it's going to give me one warning I know about. My network resolution, my name resolution policy table is messed up and I have to fix it. Right here. Name resolution policy table. That always has to be fixed. The next one is the bug for missing IPv6 route, which we have to fix. Okay, I know I need to fix it. I'm not going to wait for it to come up. So I'm going to go to my real machine, enter BS session for my DA. Sorry, VM name DA. Sign in. Once you're connected, run these two commands. I'll give you these two commands if you need it. Again, we don't have to do this because there's a glitch.
What's the glitch look like?
Wait. It's not giving me this status. But it's going to be IP over HTTPS will be red. Right there. I already have it fixed. So the only issue I have is my policy. So I have to fix that. Again, guys, I didn't come up with this. I searched the internet, cut and paste. All I'm doing is creating an IPv6 route in my routing table. So now, guys, I'm going to fix my group policy for my DA.
From DC.
From my DC. I'm going to group policy management. I'm going to go to direct access clients settings. Click edit. Under Windows settings, computer settings, policy, Windows settings, name resolution policy. This is that weird interface. I'm going to go to highlight the first policy. The order is always different, guys. Don't worry about it. Highlight it, edit rule. Then go to the second tab, DNS settings for direct access. If they're checked, uncheck this one first, this one second, hit update. Go to the second rule, edit rule. You're already on the second tab, unselect this, update. Third item, it's already unchecked, but just to show you, I'm going to edit rule. It's already unchecked. Hit update. Then don't forget to hit apply at the bottom. The last thing I need to do is make sure the only tunneling protocol that your clients have turned on is IP over HTTPS. You don't know what your clients, people have done all kinds of things to your clients. So they might have other tunneling protocols turned on, Teredo, IP 6-4. We want to make sure they're all off. So we're going to go to network settings, TCP/IP settings, IPv6 transitioning technologies, and the ones that end in state. 3 rules you have to change. This one is already done. Don't mess with it. So for 6-4 state, enable the rule, turn that technology off. For isotap state, enable the rule to turn off isotap. For Teredo, enable the rule, turn off Teredo. I'm going to go back to my DA, refresh, all green. Okay? We have a funky environment, guys. I had to move that client out to the internet. It really wasn't the internet. It was really a fake. That caused, I think, more confusion than actually setting up the service. Right now, the service is fully functioning. If you have a client on your network and they're joined to the domain, they'll get the policy. When they leave, it'll automatically connect them. That's the test. Any questions?
So what are we changing the DNS that ends with state
We're changing any one that ends in state,
and where? That we're in the after.
direct access in group policy management, direct access client settings. When you go to edit, under policies, administrative templates, network settings, TCP/IP settings, IPv6 transitioning technologies for 6-to-4 state, isotop state, Teredo state. You're going to enable a policy, turn it to a disabled state. Okay. Moment of truth. Upload the video or not?
I need notes.
Okay, show of hands.
Videos.
Notes.
This is a direct democracy.
What was his?
Incidentally,
You have to practice with the video.
Yeah.
Yeah, but every day.
One second, stop.
Video.
Yeah,
Like, what are you gonna use
if you
the
don't
notes
have
for?
notes, you're not gonna be able to do it once the
Yeah.
test comes.
Even if
I
you
feel
have
like you
notes,
will.
even if you
I
have
feel like you will.
Stop.
This is your note.
Everyone who wants the video uploaded.
You can write the notes from the video.
I mean, even if you have notes, like how
Like, how you gonna bring it? Just come to class with the notes.
You're gonna do what the notes say.
Okay, listen. The notes end up being a crutch and they don't help you as much because you write down recipe books and something goes wrong and it messes you up.